I was on my hands and knees, scrubbing cherry soda off the kitchen floor while my foster sister Kayla laughed so hard she almost choked on her pizza. "Oops," she said, not even trying to hide her smirk as she kicked the empty can closer to my face. It was my 18th birthday. No cake, no card. Just another day as the live-in maid in the house that used to belong to my parents. Linda, my so-called foster mom, didn't even look up from her phone. She just waved her hand dismissively, like I was a fly buzzing too close to her imported wine. "Hurry up, Mia. That stain's gonna set, and I'm not paying for new tiles because you're lazy." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted copper. 10 years of sleeping in that freezing basement on a mattress so thin I could feel every crack in the concrete floor. 10 years of wearing Kayla's hand-me-downs while she got designer bags for her birthday. 10 years of being told I should be grateful. They took me in after my parents died. But something felt different today. There was this weird, electric hum in my chest, like my body knew something my brain didn't yet. And then the doorbell rang. Linda groaned and shoved her chair back. "Kayla, go see who it is. If it's another one of those charity people, tell them we already donated." But when Kayla opened the door, she froze. A man in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Linda's car stepped inside, flanked by 2 security guards who looked like they could bench press a truck. He had silver hair, sharp eyes, and he was holding a leather briefcase that screamed, "Your life is about to change." He scanned the room, Linda in her stained sweatpants, Kayla with pizza grease on her chin, me on the floor with a rag in my hand, and his gaze locked onto me. "Mia Vancroft?" he asked, his voice calm but commanding. I nodded, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might crack a rib. He walked past Linda like she was furniture. "My name is Gregory Sterling. I'm the executor of your parents' estate. They established a trust fund for you that unlocks on your 18th birthday." He paused, and I swear the whole room held its breath. "The current value is $1.2 billion. The rag fell from my hand. Linda's face went sheet white, then flushed red, then white again like a broken traffic light. Kayla's mouth dropped open so wide I could see her half-chewed pepperoni. And me? I felt like I'd been underwater my whole life, and someone just yanked me to the surface. But before I could even process the number, billion dear with a B, Linda was on her feet, stumbling toward me with this horrifying smile plastered on her face. "Oh my God, sweetie. This is wonderful. We're so proud of you." She tried to hug me, her hands reaching for my shoulders, and I felt rage boil up from somewhere so deep I didn't know it existed. I stepped back, looked her dead in the eye, and said the words I'd been swallowing for a decade. "Mr. Sterling, I want you to buy the mortgage on this house, right now. I don't care if it costs triple." He didn't even blink. "Consider it done, Miss Vancroft." He pulled out his phone, made 2 calls, and within 90 seconds, he looked up. "The property is yours." I turned to Linda, and oh God, the look on her face, pure, beautiful terror. "This house is mine now," I said, my voice steady as steel. "Which means you're trespassing. You've got 5 minutes to grab your things and get out, or I'm calling the cops to throw everything you own in the garbage." I glanced at my wrist, at the cheap plastic watch Linda gave me last Christmas while Kayla got a Rolex. The clock's ticking. The next 5 minutes were the most satisfying chaos I've ever witnessed. Linda screamed, actually screamed, like a toddler having a meltdown in a grocery store. "You can't do this! I raised you! I fed you! Fed me!" I wanted to laugh. I'd been eating their leftovers for 10 years while they ordered takeout every night. Kayla was already running up the stairs, her designer heels clacking like a frantic tap dance, shoving clothes into garbage bags so fast she looked like she was being chased by hornets. I didn't move. I just sat down on the cream leather sofa, the one I was never, ever allowed to touch because Linda said my poor person germs would ruin it. And I crossed my legs. Mr. Sterling stood beside me like a silent guardian angel in a 3-piece suit, and his security guards positioned themselves at the doors like sentries. Linda tried to pull the flat-screen TV off the wall. She actually had her fingers wrapped around it, grunting with effort, when one of the security guards stepped forward. "Ma'am, that's property of the estate. Personal belongings only." Her face went purple. "Personal belongings? I bought this." I bought everything in this house. The guard didn't even flinch. With funds allocated for Miss Vancroft's care, which makes it asset misappropriation, you can leave it, or we can add theft to the police report. Oh, that shut her up real fast. She dropped her hands and stumbled backward, and I swear I saw her bottom lip tremble. Kayla came thundering back down with 3 trash bags bursting at the seams, her mascara running in black rivers down her cheeks. Mom, we have to go. Now. But Linda wasn't done. She spun toward me, her eyes wild and desperate, and she tried one last card. Mia, please, you're being cruel. We're family. Family. That word tasted like poison in the air between us. I stood up slowly, and I walked over to the side table where Kayla had spilled the soda earlier, the one I'd been scrubbing on my hands and knees like Cinderella 20 minutes ago. I picked up Kayla's half-empty can of cherry Coke, and I poured it onto the floor. Right there, on Linda's precious Italian tiles. You've got 2 minutes left, I said, my voice so calm it scared even me. The cops are already outside, and they were. 2 patrol cars had pulled up. Mr. Sterling worked fast, and I could see the red and blue lights flashing through the window. Linda grabbed Kayla's arm and bolted for the door, dragging their trash bags behind them like refugees fleeing a war zone. I walked to the front door and watched as they stumbled onto the lawn, bags splitting open and spilling bras and tank tops onto the grass. The neighbors were out now, all of them, standing on their porches and lawns, like this was the best reality TV show they'd ever seen. Mrs. Chen from next door, who used to watch me take out the trash in the snow while Kayla sunbathed, started clapping, slowly at first, then louder, and then Mr. Rodriguez joined in, and then the college kids from across the street. Within seconds, the whole block was applauding, and Linda's face crumpled like a used tissue. She tried to shove everything into their beat-up Honda Civic, the one with the dented bumper and the "My daughter is an honor student" sticker that always made me want to scream, but half of it didn't fit. Clothes and shoes were spilling onto the driveway, and Kayla was sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. I stood in the doorway of my house, and I didn't feel triumph yet. I felt something colder, something sharper. Linda looked back at me one last time, her mouth opening like she wanted to say something, but no words came out. Good. I didn't want her words anymore. I'd heard enough of those for a lifetime. The Civic's engine sputtered to life, coughing black smoke into the crisp evening air, and they peeled out of the driveway so fast they left skid marks on the asphalt. The neighbors were still clapping, some of them even cheering now, and Mrs. Chen called out, "Good for you, honey. We always knew something was wrong." Did they? Then why didn't anyone help me? But I pushed that thought down. This wasn't the time for bitterness toward people who looked the other way. This was my moment. I closed the door, and the house fell silent. Completely. Beautifully silent. No Linda barking orders. No Kayla's obnoxious pop music blasting from her room. Just peace. I turned around and looked at the space that had been my prison and was now my kingdom. Mr. Sterling was still there, standing patiently with his briefcase, and he gave me a small, knowing smile. "Miss Vancroft, we have much to discuss," he said gently. "But first, would you like a moment?" I nodded, my throat suddenly tight. "Yeah, I think I need that." But even as I said it, I knew the moment wouldn't last long. Because Linda and Kayla were out there somewhere, scheming, regrouping, and I had a feeling this war was just beginning. Mr. Sterling and I sat in the dining room, the same table where I'd served hundreds of meals but never ate a single one. He opened his briefcase with a soft click, and the sound echoed in the empty house like a gunshot. "I need to explain where this money came from," he said, pulling out a thick folder with my parents' names embossed on the cover. My hands started shaking before I even touched it. "Your parents, Dr. James Vancroft and Dr. Elena Vancroft, were pioneers in quantum computing. They sold their patent portfolio to a tech consortium 3 months before the plane crash." He slid a photo across the table. My mom and dad, younger than I remembered, standing in front of a lab with smiles so bright it hurt to look at. The trust was designed to remain sealed until your 18th birthday to protect you from complications. Complications. That's a nice word for what happened next. Mr. Sterling pulled out another document, and this one made my blood run cold. Miss Vancroft, I need you to understand something crucial. He looked me dead in the eye, and I saw something there. Anger, maybe even disgust. Linda Chen knew about the trust. She's known since the day she became your legal guardian. The room tilted. My ears started ringing like someone had set off a bomb next to my head. What? My voice came out as a whisper. He nodded slowly, his jaw tight. The state paid her $5,000 per month for your care, plus a quarterly bonus from your parents, a state specifically earmarked for your education, clothing, and comfort. Over the past 10 years, that totals approximately $700,000. $700,000. I thought about the basement, the concrete floor, the single bare light bulb, the winters where I could see my breath in the air because Linda said heating the basement was a waste of money. She kept it all, I said, and it wasn't a question. Mr. Sterling's silence was answer enough. He pulled out bank statements, pages and pages of them, highlighting deposits that went into Linda's personal accounts. $5,000 every month like clockwork, plus those quarterly bonuses. And then I saw the expenditures. A BMW for Kayla's 16th birthday, $47,000. A kitchen renovation, $35,000. A trip to Cabo, $12,000. All of it funded by money that was supposed to keep me fed, clothed, and safe. This isn't just cruelty, Miss Vancroft, Mr. Sterling said, his voice hard as granite. This is federal fraud. She falsified reports to Child Protective Services, claiming she was using the funds appropriately. She even submitted fake receipts, tutoring services you never received, a laptop you never owned, clothes you never wore. I couldn't breathe. The walls felt like they were closing in, and I had to grip the edge of the table to keep from falling out of my chair. All those years, I thought I was just unlucky. I thought maybe Linda was just a mean person who took in a kid for the tax benefits and didn't really care. But this was calculated. This was systematic. This was evil. She made me sleep in the basement while she bought Kayla a car with my money, I said, and my voice cracked. She made me wear donated clothes while she went to Cabo on my parents' dime. She watched me scrub floors and told me I should be grateful she didn't kick me out onto the streets. Mr. Sterling reached across the table and put his hand over mine. It was the first gentle touch I'd had in 10 years, and I almost broke down right there. I'm so sorry, Mia, but I need you to know, this doesn't end with her being kicked out. This is prosecutable, and if you want, I have lawyers ready to bury her. Did I want that? Oh God, yes, but something in me hesitated. Prosecution meant trials. Trials meant reliving every horrible moment in front of strangers. It meant testifying about the time Linda threw my dinner in the trash because I didn't wash the dishes fast enough, or the time Kayla locked me in the basement for 8 hours because I accidentally wore a shirt she wanted. It meant ripping open wounds that hadn't even started healing yet. Can I think about it? I asked, my voice small. Mr. Sterling nodded. Of course, but Miss Vancroft, I want you to understand something. Linda isn't going to go quietly. She's lost her home, her cash flow, and her reputation. She's going to fight back. He closed the folder and looked at me with something that might have been respect. And when she does, you need to be ready. The house suddenly felt too big, too quiet, too full of ghosts. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the driveway where Linda's car had peeled out just an hour ago. The skid marks were still there, black streaks on gray concrete, like scars. What do I do now? I asked, and I hated how lost I sounded. Mr. Sterling stood beside me, his reflection ghostly in the window glass. Now, he said softly, now you take back everything she stole. Not just the money, your dignity, your childhood, your life. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was fierce. And you make damn sure she never does this to another kid again. I looked at my reflection, this girl in donated jeans and a faded t-shirt, this girl who'd been invisible for 10 years. But my eyes weren't invisible anymore. They were burning. Then let's start, I said, and I meant it. The first thing I did was walk down to the basement, my basement. The place where I'd spent 650 nights staring at a water-stained ceiling and pretending I was somewhere else, anywhere else. The air still smelled like mildew and desperation, and that horrible mattress was still there in the corner, surrounded by cardboard boxes full of Linda's old junk she was too cheap to throw away. I stood in the doorway for a long time, just breathing, just feeling. And then I pulled out my phone, the crappy flip phone Linda gave me 3 years ago because smartphones are for people who contribute to society. And I called Mr. Sterling. I want it gone, I said. All of it. The mattress, the boxes, everything. Burn it if you have to. I never want to see this room the way it was again. Within 2 hours, a renovation crew showed up like Linda's worst nightmare come to life. They hauled that disgusting mattress out through the garage, and I swear to God, when they tossed it in the dumpster, I felt 10 pounds lighter. They cleared out every box, every reminder, every molecule of the life Linda had forced on me. And then they started building new drywall, recessed lighting, heated floors, because I would never, ever be cold in my own house again. The crew foreman, this burly guy named Marcus with kind eyes, asked me what I wanted the space to become. I didn't even hesitate. A wine cellar, I said. The most expensive, most beautiful wine cellar you can build. I want people to come down here and think they're in a palace. He grinned. You got it, Miss Vancroft. Miss Vancroft, I could get used to that. The next day, Mr. Sterling's assistant, this impossibly chic woman named Veronica, who looked like she'd stepped out of Vogue, took me shopping. Not to Target. Not to the thrift store where Linda used to drop me off with $20 and tell me to make it work. No, we went to Northridge Plaza, the mall with stores so expensive I used to cross to the other side of the corridor just to avoid the judgmental stares from the salespeople. Kayla used to shop here every weekend, and she'd make me wait outside like a dog tied to a parking meter because she said I embarrassed her. Well, not anymore. We walked into Maison Laurent, this boutique that smelled like leather and wealth, and the saleswoman, a blonde with a severe bob and even more severe attitude, looked me up and down like I'd tracked mud on her white carpet. Can I help you? She asked, her tone making it clear she hoped the answer was no. Veronica stepped forward, and her smile was sharp as a knife. Yes, Miss Vancroft needs a complete wardrobe. Evening wear, casual wear, business attire, accessories. We'll take the VIP suite. The saleswoman's eyes flickered to me, to my faded jeans, my worn sneakers, and I saw the doubt there, the disbelief. And oh, it felt good to watch that doubt evaporate when Veronica pulled out a black titanium card and set it on the counter like she was playing a winning poker hand. The VIP suite, the saleswoman repeated, her voice suddenly honey-sweet. Of course, right this way. For the next 3 hours, I tried on clothes that cost more than Linda's monthly mortgage payment. Silk blouses, cashmere sweaters, a leather jacket so soft it felt like butter. And every single time I looked in the mirror, I saw less of the basement girl and more of me, the real me, the one who'd been buried under shame and hand-me-downs for a decade. When we left, I was wearing a charcoal pantsuit that made me feel like I could buy and sell the entire mall, and Veronica was coordinating the delivery of 17 shopping bags to my house. We walked through the food court, and that's when I saw them, Linda and Kayla. They were sitting in the parking lot in that pathetic Honda, and Kayla was crying, ugly crying, the kind where your face gets all blotchy and swollen. Linda was on her phone, probably calling every friend she had left to beg for couch space. The car was stuffed with trash bags, and I could see a bra hanging out of one of the back windows. It looked like a sad, desperate yard sale on wheels. They hadn't seen me yet. I could have walked past, could have gotten into the Blacktown car Veronica had waiting and disappeared. But I didn't. I walked right past their car, close enough that Linda would have seen me if she'd looked up from her phone. Close enough that Kayla's tearful eyes locked onto mine for just a second. I didn't wave, didn't smile, didn't acknowledge them at all. I just kept walking, my heels clicking on the asphalt like a countdown, and I slid into the back seat of the town car. Veronica shut the door, and as we pulled away, I glanced back one time. Linda had finally looked up. Her face was pale, her mouth hanging open, and she was staring at the car, at me, like she'd seen a ghost, or maybe like she'd just realized exactly how much she'd lost. The car turned onto the highway, and they disappeared from view. I leaned back against the leather seat, and for the first time in 10 years, I smiled. A real smile. Not the fake one I used to wear when Linda's friends came over and she'd pretend we were a normal family. This one was mine, and it tasted like freedom. 3 days later, my phone rang. Well, not my flip phone. Mr. Sterling had that thing destroyed in what he called a ceremonial crushing and replaced it with the latest iPhone. When I saw Linda Chen flash across the screen, my first instinct was to throw the phone out the window. But something stopped me. Curiosity, maybe, or the desire to hear her grovel. I answered, "Mia, sweetheart, thank God you picked up." Her voice was syrupy sweet, dripping with fake warmth like poisoned honey. I didn't say anything, just waited. I could hear her breathing on the other end, could almost picture her rehearsing this conversation in whatever roach motel they were staying in. "Baby, I know things got heated the other day, but I've had time to think, and I realize we both said things we didn't mean." "We both?" I wanted to laugh. I hadn't said anything except, "Get out." But I bit my tongue and let her continue. Because this was fascinating in the most horrifying way. "The truth is, Mia, everything I did was to prepare you for the real world. Life is hard, you know? I needed to toughen you up, teach you discipline, make sure you could stand on your own 2 feet. Oh my God. She actually believed this. Or she was trying to convince herself she did. "I was hard on you because I loved you," she continued, and her voice cracked just a little. "Practiced emotion, the kind you see in bad Lifetime movies. And Kayla and I, we miss you so much. We're family, honey, and family forgives. Family moves forward together." I looked around my house, my beautiful, Linda-free house with its new furniture and fresh paint, and I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness, just cold, crystalline clarity. "Where are you staying?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. There was a pause, and I heard shuffling, like she was covering the phone to whisper something to Kayla. "We're at the Sunset Motel on Route 9, she said finally. "It's temporary, of course, just until we figure things out. Actually, that's part of why I'm calling. I thought maybe we could meet somewhere and talk. Really talk. Clear the air." I could hear the desperation underneath her words now, like termites eating through the foundation of her fake composure. The Sunset Motel. I knew that place. It was one step above sleeping in the car, weekly rates, coin-operated showers, and a flickering neon sign that said vacancy, even when it was full because they couldn't afford to fix it. "Okay," I said slowly. "Let's meet. How about LeBlanc? Tomorrow night at 8? Silence. Dead silence. LeBlanc was the most expensive restaurant in the city, the kind of place where reservations required a 3-month waiting list and a credit check. The kind of place where Linda used to drive past and say, "Only pretentious idiots waste money there." I could practically hear her brain short-circuiting. "LeBlanc," she repeated, trying to sound casual. "Isn't that a bit fancy for a family dinner?" "You said you wanted to talk," I replied, my voice as smooth as glass. "I'm offering you a table, unless you'd rather meet at the Denny's by the motel." That stung. I heard her sharp inhale, and then that fake sweet voice came back, even more forced than before. No, LeBlanc is perfect. We'll be there, 8 o'clock sharp." After I hung up, I sat on my new sofa, white Italian leather, the kind Linda would have killed to own, and I smiled. Veronica, who'd been organizing files across the room, looked up and raised one perfectly sculpted eyebrow. "Why do I feel like you just set a trap?" she asked. "Because I did," I said simply. She grinned, and it was the kind of grin a shark makes before it bites. "This I have to see." I texted Mr. Sterling. "Need a reservation at LeBlanc tomorrow. Table for 3, and make sure they know I'm covering my meal only." His response was immediate. "Brilliant. I'll alert the staff." I leaned back and closed my eyes, and I imagined Linda and Kayla getting dressed tomorrow, probably in their nicest clothes, which were still garbage compared to what I had hanging in my closet now. I imagined them thinking they'd won, thinking they'd manipulated me back into their web. And oh, the disappointment that was coming for them was going to be exquisite. I arrived at LeBlanc 20 minutes early, just to watch them squirm. The restaurant was everything Linda pretended to be: elegant, refined, untouchable. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings like frozen fireworks, and the maitre d', Philippe, greeted me like royalty. "Miss Vancroft, your table is ready, and the other guests." "They'll be here," I said, smoothing down my navy Dior dress. "Let them wait at the entrance for a moment when they arrive. I want to watch." At exactly 8 o'clock, Linda and Kayla walked through the door, and oh God, the sight of them was priceless. They'd tried so hard, Linda in a blazer that screamed goodwill, Kayla squeezed into a dress 2 sizes too small. Philippe made them wait 90 seconds at the podium, long enough for every wealthy diner to glance their way and make silent judgments. Underneath all their effort, they looked exactly like what they were: desperate women pretending to be something they weren't. We sat down, and I watched their eyes go wide as they scanned the menu. The cheapest entree was $85. "Order whatever you want," I said, my voice pleasant and empty. "It's a special occasion." And oh, they went wild. Kayla ordered Alaskan king crab with truffle butter, lobster bisque, and a $300 bottle of champagne. Linda got the $450 Wagyu steak with foie gras. She was practically salivating, and I could see the calculation in her eyes. She thought she'd already won. Thought she'd sweet-talked her way back into my life and my wallet. I ordered a simple Caesar salad and sparkling water. The waiter looked confused, but he nodded and disappeared. Linda leaned forward, her elbows on the table like we were at a diner. "So, Mia, I'm so glad we could do this. Clear the air, move forward as a family." "Actually, I'm glad you brought up family," I said, reaching into my purse. I pulled out a manila envelope, thick, heavy, official, and set it on the table like a bomb. I opened it and spread the documents across the white tablecloth. Bank statements, deposit records, forged receipts. Every single piece of evidence Mr. Sterling's team had compiled. "This is 10 years of the $5,000 you received every month to take care of me. $700,000. Linda, that's a lot of money." Her face went from pink to white so fast I thought she might pass out. "And this," I continued, pulling out another sheet, "is the quarterly bonuses from my parents' estate. The money for my education, my clothing, my health care. Funny thing, I never got any of it." Linda's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. "Mia, I can explain." "No," I said, my voice sharp as a blade. "You can't." I slid forward a document with an official seal. "My legal team filed a formal complaint with the state this morning. Fraud, embezzlement, child neglect, falsification of government documents." The champagne arrived with a cheerful pop that felt wildly inappropriate for the nuclear bomb I'd just dropped. Nobody touched their glass. Linda was shaking, her hands trembling in her lap. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she whispered weakly. "Am I?" I leaned back, feeling powerful and alive. "Because from where I'm sitting, you committed multiple felonies. And here's the thing, Linda, I have the resources now to make sure you pay for every single one." Kayla started crying, mascara running, grabbing her mother's arm. "Mom, what is she talking about? What did you do?" But Linda was staring at me with something I'd never seen before. Pure, primal fear. "Mia, please, I'll pay it back. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't..." "Don't what?" "Don't hold you accountable." I stood up, the chair scraping like a gavel. "I'm not paying for your dinner, and as of this morning, my lawyers have frozen your personal bank accounts. Every penny you stole is being recovered." I picked up my purse and looked down at them. "Enjoy your meal. I hear the crab legs are to die for." I walked out with my head high, and behind me I heard Linda's voice rising in panic, probably realizing she couldn't pay the bill. Outside, the night air was crisp and clean, and I took a breath that felt like the first real one in years. Veronica was waiting by the car, grinning. "How'd it go?" she asked. "Perfect," I said, and I meant it. But even as I slid into the back seat, I knew Linda wouldn't go down without a fight. Desperate people do desperate things. and I had a feeling her next move was going to be ugly. 2 days later, I woke up to my phone exploding. Not literally, but close. Hundreds of notifications, messages from numbers I didn't recognize, and my name trending on social media. My stomach dropped before I even opened the first one. I clicked on Twitter, and there it was. A video of Linda, sitting in what looked like a church basement, tears streaming down her face, talking to a local news reporter. "My daughter abandoned me," she sobbed, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. "I raised her from nothing. I gave her everything I had, and the moment she got money, she threw me out like garbage. I'm living in a motel now. I can't even afford my heart medication." Heart medication? Linda's heart was fine, unless you counted it being 2 sizes too small. The reporter, this young guy with an eager face and zero fact-checking skills, ate it up. "So you're saying Mia Vancroft, the billionaire heiress, left you homeless?" "I'm saying she forgot where she came from," Linda said, and she looked directly into the camera with those watery eyes. "I loved that girl like my own daughter. I sacrificed everything for her, and this is how she repays me." The comments section was a dumpster fire. "Rich people have no heart. This is disgusting. Billionaires are parasites." My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. They believed her. Thousands of people were believing her twisted version of reality, and I could feel the walls closing in again. That same helpless feeling from the basement, like I was screaming and nobody could hear me. I called Mr. Sterling, and he answered on the first ring. "I've seen it," he said before I could speak. "It's already gone viral. Local news picked it up, and now the national outlets are sniffing around." My throat felt tight. They think I'm the villain. They think I'm some spoiled rich girl who abandoned her poor foster mother. There was a pause, and then Sterling's voice came through, calm and steady as steel. "Miss Vancroft, I need you to listen to me very carefully. This is exactly what desperate people do when they're cornered. They weaponize public opinion. But here's what Linda doesn't know. We have evidence. Real, documented, irrefutable evidence, and we're going to use it." "How?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "We go public," he said. "A press conference. You tell your story, the real story, and we back it up with documentation that Linda can't deny. Bank records, CPS reports, and the security footage." My heart stopped. "What security footage?" Sterling's voice had an edge now, something sharp and satisfied. "The cameras Linda installed in your house to monitor you while you worked. She never disabled them, Mia. Which means we have 10 years of footage showing exactly how she treated you, including the last 6 months." Oh my God, those cameras. Linda had installed them everywhere. The kitchen, the living room, even the hallway leading to the basement, so she could check on her phone whether I was slacking off. I'd hated them, felt violated by them. But now they were going to save me. "When?" I asked. "Tomorrow," Sterling said. "I'll arrange everything. But Mia, this is going to be hard. You're going to have to stand in front of cameras and relive the worst moments of your life. You're going to have to be vulnerable in a way that's terrifying. Can you do that?" I looked at my phone, at the comments calling me heartless and cruel, at Linda's fake tears frozen on my screen. And I felt something ignite in my chest. Not anger, not revenge, but something cleaner. Truth. "Yes," I said, "I can do that." Because Linda had taken 10 years of my life. She'd stolen my childhood, my dignity, my sense of safety. But she wasn't taking my voice. Not anymore. I spent the rest of the day preparing with Sterling's PR team. They coached me on how to speak, how to sit, how to look at the camera without looking away. Because looking away meant guilt, and I had nothing to be guilty for. Veronica held my hand during the practice runs, and when I started crying halfway through telling my story, she didn't tell me to stop. She just handed me a tissue and said, "Good, let them see that emotion tomorrow. Let them see the real you." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Linda watching from whatever crappy motel she was in, confident she'd won, confident that public opinion would force me to back down, to pay her off, to make her go away quietly. But she'd made one critical mistake. She'd underestimated me. Again. The press conference was held at the Grandview Hotel, in a ballroom that could seat 200 people. Every seat was filled. Cameras lined the back wall like a firing squad, their red lights blinking in the darkness, and reporters sat with notebooks open, pens poised like vultures waiting for fresh meat. I walked to the podium in a simple black dress. No designer labels today. Nothing that screamed billionaire. And I gripped the edges of the wood so hard my knuckles went white. Mr. Sterling stood beside me, solid as a mountain. And when I looked out at all those faces, all those judging eyes, I wanted to run. But then I remembered the basement, the cold, the hunger, the 10 years of being invisible, and I started talking. "My name is Mia Vancroft," I said, and my voice cracked on the first word, but I pushed through. "And I want to tell you about the woman you saw crying on television yesterday." I could see some reporters shift uncomfortably, already skeptical, already thinking I was just another rich person trying to buy good PR, so I didn't waste time. Linda Chen became my legal guardian when I was 8 years old, after my parents died in a plane crash. The state of California paid her $5,000 a month for my care, plus quarterly bonuses from my parents and estate. Over 10 years, that totaled $700,000. I paused, let that number sink in. "I want to show you what she did with that money." I nodded to Sterling, and the screen behind me lit up. The first image was a bank statement, Linda's personal account, with deposits highlighted in yellow, $5,000, every single month, like clockwork. The second image was a receipt for Kayla's BMW, $47,000. The third was a credit card statement showing a $12,000 trip to Cabo. The reporters were scribbling now, their pens moving fast, and I could see the shift happening in real time, the realization that maybe, just maybe, they'd gotten the story wrong. "While Linda was spending that money on luxury cars and vacations," I said, my voice steadier now, "I was living in her basement, sleeping on a mattress on concrete, wearing donated clothes, eating their leftovers when they remembered to leave me any." The room was silent except for the click of camera shutters. "But I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want to show you." Sterling pressed another button, and the screen changed. Security footage. Black and white, grainy, but unmistakable. The timestamp read 3 years ago. I would have been 15. The camera showed the kitchen, and there I was, on my hands and knees, scrubbing the floor. Linda walked in, stepped over me like I was furniture, and opened the fridge. She pulled out a container of leftovers, looked at it, then dumped it in the trash, right in front of me. Then she walked out without saying a word. The next clip showed me in the basement, curled up on that horrible mattress, a thin blanket pulled up to my chin. Even through the grainy footage, you could see me shivering. The timestamp said it was January, below freezing outside. And Linda had the heat turned off in the basement to save money. The reporters weren't scribbling anymore. They were staring at the screen, and I could see it on their faces, horror, disgust, shame for having believed Linda's lies. "I'm not telling you this for sympathy," I said, and my voice was strong now, clear and unwavering. "I'm telling you this because Linda Chen went on television and called herself a victim. She cried about heart medication she doesn't need and painted me as a villain for taking back what was mine. But the truth is, she committed fraud. She stole money meant to care for a child and used it to fund her lifestyle. She abused me for 10 years, and when I finally escaped, she tried to manipulate public opinion to force me back under her control." I looked directly into the main camera, the one broadcasting live. I'm not the villain in this story. I'm the survivor. The final clip played on the screen, footage from my 18th birthday, just hours before the lawyer arrived. Me on my knees, wiping up soda, while Kayla laughed and Linda ignored me completely. The timestamp was right there, undeniable proof that Linda's loving mother act was a lie. When the clip ended, the ballroom erupted. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, and Mr. Sterling stepped forward to manage the chaos. But I just stood there, breathing, feeling lighter than I had in years. I'd told the truth, the whole, ugly, painful truth. And now the world knew exactly who Linda Chen really was. As we left the stage, Veronica squeezed my hand. "You did it," she whispered. "You buried her." And somewhere out there in a cheap motel room, I knew Linda was watching, and I knew she was finally afraid. The fallout was swift and brutal. Within 24 hours, the district attorney's office announced a formal investigation into Linda Chen for fraud, embezzlement of state funds, and child endangerment. The media that had vilified me yesterday was now running 24-hour coverage of Linda's crimes, dissecting every bank statement, every receipt, every frame of that security footage. My phone buzzed with apology messages from strangers who'd called me heartless just days before. I deleted them all. I didn't need their apologies. I needed justice. And 3 weeks later, on a cold Tuesday morning, I got it. Mr. Sterling called me at 7 a.m. "They arrested her," he said simply. "Linda's being charged with 12 felony counts. She's looking at 15 to 20 years if convicted." I should have felt triumphant, vindicated, but all I felt was tired, hollow, almost. I drove to the courthouse for her arraignment, not because I wanted to see her, but because I needed to close this chapter once and for all. Linda was led in wearing an orange jumpsuit, her hair unwashed, her face bare of makeup. She looked small, diminished, nothing like the woman who used to tower over me in that kitchen, screaming about a dish I'd supposedly washed wrong. When her eyes found mine in the gallery, I saw desperation there, a silent plea. But I just stared back, my face blank as stone. She'd begged for mercy 10 years too late. The judge denied bail, flight risk, he said, and Linda was led away in handcuffs. As the door closed behind her, I felt something inside me finally let go. Kayla wasn't charged. Technically, she was just a bystander, a spoiled kid who benefited from her mother's crimes but didn't orchestrate them. But the court of public opinion wasn't so forgiving. Her social media accounts were flooded with hate. Her friends abandoned her. And when I heard through the grapevine that she was working as a server at Bistro Laurent, the same restaurant where Linda had tried to scam me with that fake family dinner, I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I went there one evening, dressed casually, and sat in her section. I watched her face go pale when she recognized me, watched her hands tremble as she poured my water. "I'll have the salmon," I said calmly, handing back the menu. She nodded, couldn't even speak, and hurried away. When the bill came, I left a $100 tip, not because I forgave her, but because I wanted her to know I'd moved on. The real work started after that. I met with the director of Riverside Children's Home, the same facility where I would have ended up if Linda hadn't taken me in, not out of kindness, but out of greed. The building was old, paint peeling, playground equipment rusted and broken. Kids played in a parking lot because there wasn't enough space for a proper yard. It broke my heart. "How much would it take to build something better?" I asked the director, a tired woman named Mrs. Pacheco, who looked like she'd been fighting bureaucracy for decades. She laughed, a sad, defeated sound. "To build a proper facility, with classrooms, therapy rooms, a real playground? At least 10 million, maybe more. We've been trying to get funding for years, but consider it funded," I said. Her mouth fell open. "I'm sorry, what?" Within 6 months, construction began on the Vancroft Center for Youth, a state-of-the-art facility with everything those kids needed and deserved: music rooms, art studios, a library that could rival a small college, a gym with equipment that actually worked, and a therapy wing, because I knew firsthand that losing your parents left scars that never fully healed. At the opening ceremony, I stood in front of the building with a pair of oversized scissors, surrounded by kids who looked at me like I was some kind of superhero. Mrs. Pacheco was crying, happy tears this time, and the mayor was giving a speech about philanthropy and community, but I wasn't listening. I was watching a little girl, maybe 9 years old, running across the new playground, laughing. And I thought about the girl I used to be, the one in the basement, the one who thought she'd never escape. I wished I could go back and tell her, "You will. You'll survive this. And one day, you'll make sure no other kid has to." The ribbon was cut, cameras flashed, people applauded, and as I walked back to my car, I passed by the cornerstone they'd just unveiled. Engraved in granite were my parents' names, Dr. James Vancroft and Dr. Elena Vancroft. Below that, a quote I'd chosen, "From darkness, we build light." I traced my fingers over their names, and for the first time since I was 8 years old, I didn't feel like an orphan. I felt like their daughter, and I felt like I'd finally made them proud. Mr. Sterling appeared beside me, his ever-present briefcase in hand. "What's next, Miss Vancroft?" he asked. I looked at the building, at the kids already exploring their new home, and then at the city skyline beyond. "Next?" I smiled. "Next, I live." 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of my penthouse. Yeah, I'd sold Linda's house and bought something that was actually mine, not tainted by her presence, and watched the city lights flicker like a million tiny stars. The Vancroft Center was thriving. Linda was serving her sentence in a minimum security facility upstate, and according to Mr. Sterling, she'd be eligible for parole in 8 years if she behaved. Kayla had moved to another state, trying to rebuild a life away from the scandal. And me, I was free. Truly, completely free. I thought about that girl in the basement sometimes, the one who scrubbed floors and ate leftovers and believed she was worthless. I wished I could tell her that the people who tried to bury her didn't realize she was a seed, that she'd grow through the concrete, break through the darkness, and bloom into something they never saw coming. The funny thing about surviving hell is that you learn what you're really made of. Not money. Money just revealed the truth that was always there. But strength, resilience, the refusal to stay down when someone tries to crush you. Linda thought she could keep me small, keep me silent, keep me in that basement forever. But she was wrong, because I wasn't just my parents' daughter by blood. I was their daughter in spirit. Innovators, fighters, people who looked at impossible problems and said, "Watch me solve this." And every time I walked into that children's center and saw kids laughing, learning, healing, I knew I'd honored their legacy better than any amount of money ever could. The shadow that Linda and Kayla cast over my life, it doesn't touch me anymore. I stepped into the light, and I'm never going back. But you know what's wild? My story is about revealing the truth to take back power. The next story, it's about hiding the truth to find something even more valuable. Imagine you're a billionaire, like own half the city wealthy, and you're tired of people wanting you for your money. So you do something crazy. You get a job at your own company as a regular employee. No one knows who you really are. You meet someone. You fall in love. Real love. The kind where she likes you for you, not your bank account. You date for months, and it's perfect, until you decide it's time to propose, to reveal everything, to start your real life together. But on the day you plan to tell her the truth, she humiliates you in front of the entire office for being too poor for her standards. She dumps you, publicly, brutally. And 5 minutes later, you're supposed to walk on stage, not as her rejected boyfriend, but as the CEO and owner of the entire company. What do? Do you still reveal yourself? Do you let her drown in her own regret? Or do you walk away and let her live with never knowing what she lost?